Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grad Chat, the podcast where I, Andy, speak to graduates from the film production course here at UCA. Today we are discussing the highs and lows of graduate life with Edoardo. Ed is a filmmaker from Rome in Italy who studied the 4-year film production course here at UCA. We cover many topics, including his graduation in 2017, as well as his time working on a HBO series, as well as the time that we emailed Dev Patel. So please, without further ado, enjoy this lovely chat that I had with Ed.
Yeah, okay. So I'm Edoardo I'm from Rome, Italy, and I graduated from UCA in 2017. I did the film production course, the 4 years option, because I did the year 0 as well. And yeah, that's me. Hi, Andy.
Hello, Edoardo. Thank you for talking to me today. First of all, can you talk me through your journey through UCA? So you said you did the 4-year course. Did you have a particular department that you were interested in working in?
I did actually. So my what I wanted to do actually changed quite a lot through the years. I remember in year 0, I wanted to be a writer. Like before coming to UCA, I wanted to write. And then as I went along the course, I produced in first year, and then in second year I did cinematography, and then the last year I directed. So I kind of did pretty much everything except sound, which it's definitely not my one of my strong strength, one of my strong points that I have got in my sleeves. I pretty much did everything, and in the end I graduated directing, if that's what we can say. But I did pretty much everything that I could do.
Talk to me about graduating then. So when you graduated, did you have a clear direction that you wanted to go in the industry, or was it more a feeling of you've acquired all these different skills and you will take whatever you can find?
Yeah, I mean, the sun is overexposing my face quite a lot. Look at this. Really bad job.
Not going to get any cinematography jobs with that, are you?
Absolutely not. I need some flagging. There you go. Christian would be proud. Hi, Noski. I'm flagging the sun. I had a clear idea in my head about what I wanted to do, and it was just creating as much as I could. I love cinematography, and I think that's the second year is where I learned the most in terms of crafting and actual filmmaking. And I think in the end, a director has to be aware of everything that goes on in the cinematography department and the camera department. The camera team works so hard, and I think it needs to be acknowledged. But yeah, I think the creating aspect of filmmaking is what I was most interested in, and still am. So the writing and directing part of the process.
When you graduated, what was the first steps for you? Talk me through graduation.
That's
Talk me through the walk. How did you walk up?
South Bank. I did 2 shakes, 2 hands, two times, and then I let. No, I think that's the most difficult bit, because you hear for the whole time you're at uni, you hear about these scary percentages of people that would actually make it in the industry, and so I understand that that's the most difficult bit. Like when you're just fresh out of university and you have this film degree, and you kind of have to start working. And so what I did was I went through a few phases. So I started doing some filmmaking, not really in the industry. And I started doing some independent stuff, like independent shorts, really small things. Then I got a job here back home, in Rome, in the directing department of the HBO show The New Pope, and then that was really great. 7 months shoot, really hard, but rewarding. And I guess you just need to. It feels really weird to say that you have to just keep trying, because that's, I've heard that so much when I was at university. People that would say, you have to keep trying, and it's just opportunities are there, and I think you need to be able to have the skills to be able to sustain the kind of work that you get that you're offered, and just do the work. Like we chose to work in an industry where no one gives you anything really for free, and you can't just, you need to work so hard. And that's one of the challenges, that we face every day, because you have to get up at 4 a.m. and go on set and work for 10 hours, and then you go home, you're really tired, and then you have to go back the next morning. But if you really like this job, and I think it's the best job for me that that I could do, because it's something that you can't find anywhere else. That feeling when you walk on set, and you're experiencing something that it's really weird if you think about it, but also amazing. And so you need to start messaging people, and trying to build create as many contacts as that you can. And LinkedIn doesn't work. Don't use LinkedIn. Like
Exposed.
once and for all, LinkedIn doesn't work. You need to meet people, and you need to call people. And I'm pretty bad at that, and I was pretty bad at that. So I know how hard it is to actually like call someone or write to someone. I have a few anecdotes of me.
How did you push yourself to do that? So when you identified that face to face or over the phone, actually talking to people physically, that there's only so far that an email or a message can go, and actually making that connection. How did you push yourself when you'd identified that? How did you push yourself to do that?
Like I'm a very shy person when it comes to this, and I think there should be another way of getting in the industry, but unfortunately right now that's basically the only way is contacting people and calling people up. And the same mechanisms that happen at uni. For example, when you're creating teams for the second year documentary or the grad film, for example. Okay, so let's say they give you the directing position or the producing position for a grad film, right? So you go through the whole committee thing, you get it, you've got a script, you can make it, you've got the rights, you have a director, you got a producer. Among like inside of your year group, who are you gonna call to actually be in the team, right? So who are you gonna go to come up? Who are you gonna go to be to do sound? Who are you gonna call to whatever, every department, right? To be the DOP, and who you call the people that you know are good, right? Like you've been for 2 years already at uni, so you kind of have an idea of the people you work well with, the people that can't do the job right, and the people not even can do the job right, but can actually work in a way that you can that you like, and people that work well with you. So those are the people you're gonna call first, right? And that's the same in the industry. That's the weird thing that I found out, that I realized, is that it's basically the same thing. Because if you have this multi-million project, right, you have to create a team. You start people start asking around, who do you know that can do this, right? And those are the people who get called. Yeah, you can apply for a job, but there's really like not many spots that can be filled by just auditioning and by interview. Most spots get filled like just so, oh, you know what, I know this sound guy, I worked with him 2 projects ago, he's really good, I liked him, you can give him a call. It's not guaranteed, but at least that's how you you actually you find work. And I always say that getting in the film industry is like in the Lord of the Rings, where when they have to get into the mines, and it's just a stone wall with no door, and you need to know the right like the secret phrase to even see the door, right? So the film industry is this huge fenced thing, like place, with no door, and the only way to even see the door, I'm not saying work getting in, just the only way to even see the door is to know someone that shows you the door. Really, that's bad, obviously. It's like we don't want that shouldn't be, it shouldn't be like that, but that's how it is. And so how do I push myself? I just got rejected and but I saw that it wasn't like a rejection, like a harsh rejection. It was a, oh, okay, like it's cool that you do that. Like it's cool that you send emails, and it's okay that you call people. Once I called the landline of a producer, that he was pretty harsh to me, because he was like, don't call me here. But I was like, your number is online, so that's what can I do? I'm just calling people. And he was like, please don't call me at my home number. I was like, okay, that's a lesson learned. I'm not gonna do it again. But yeah, you just kind of need to keep pushing, and eventually you'll get the lowest ranked job that you can get, and hopefully you start from there.
Talk to me about your experiences then, especially the 7-month HBO shoot. What was it a big learning curve for you? What were the positives and the negatives?
What I take from those 4 years at UCA is my cinematography specialism, because I think that the relationship that I had with Noski, with Chris, with the whole cinematography department at UCA was the best thing that I could have get out of UCA, because I learned a lot about the mechanics of a set in general, and so the set experience, I think UCA got me ready to work on a set, and that's like the actual mechanics of knowing what to do, where to go, when to speak up, when to shut up, who just being able to be ready to work on even on a big set. Because when you worked and when you made a small set with no money and no organization work, then a big set with money and organization is going to be a lot easier. And if someone tells you do that, you're like, I know what I got to do. And so that experience was good. Obviously, I learned a lot of new things, but I feel like the base knowledge, the base skills were there from the years at UCA. And that's it. I think yeah, work ethic and knowing where to stand and knowing what to do is was a big factor in me surviving these 7 months for sure.
Never stand in doorways is what I learned. Do not stand in those doorways, because Emma Thompson will want to get by, and she's a busy lady. She does not wait for no trainee grip, that's for sure.
Exactly. There were a few things that you're told, and it's first respect everyone, and I think that's maybe it's a given, but I remember this feeling of this is almost like a sacred place, right? Like set is a really important place, and what we're doing here is serious. Like, we're not just playing pretend, and even if you're doing something small and no one will probably ever see what you're doing here at UCA, it was still important, and it was still a serious moment, and a big moment when the lights went on, and the studio was dressed up, and everyone was doing their job, and it felt like you were doing something important, even if it really wasn't important at all.
Do you remember Claire Barwell's 2 rules that she said? Claire, the old head of the film course, and at the beginning of the year, she stood up in front of everyone and she said, there are 2. I won't do an impression. She said there was 2. She said there was 2 rules.
Yeah.
In filmmaking. Do you remember what they were?
I don't remember what they were.
One of them was be kind.
Yes. Okay.
And the second rule was take a shower. She said, be kind and take a shower, and everything will be fine. And I think you raised some very good points. Knowing when to make creative contributions, knowing when to step back, and just listening to the set that is around you, taking everything in, learning.
What do you want to get out of a film degree? Showreel? I don't know. Do you want to get out? Do you want to learn a lot about just filmmaking? Yes, of course. But I think what you really want to get is be ready to work when university is over, right? And I think if you approach it in a good way, and in a really hardworking way, like for example, I remember that second year when the specialisms were up, and like the tutors had to choose who were gonna get into the like all of the specialisms, and I wanted to be in the cinematography one, but I wanted to write and I produced, so I had no idea about any technical aspect of cameras. Literally, like, I know nothing. And so I went to Noski and I was like, Noski, what do I have to do to get into this specialism, right? And she was like, she looked at me and she said, go work. And so I went to every third year like shoot that were about to happen, and I told them, can I be in your cinematography, in your camera department, in your camera team? And they were like, we don't really need anyone, but you can spark if you want. So I sparked on 2 grad films. I gripped in like other 2, and I did nothing basically. I just stood there, moved lights, and had really little responsibilities. But I started learning about cameras, and I started learning about how the camera team worked. And so when I sent my proposal to be in the specialism, and I sent to Noski, and I was like, listen, I worked in 7 camera teams in my life. I know everything about this and that and blah blah blah. And I got in, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, 3 months ago, I didn't even know what I don't know. What's 2.8?
Do you
Is it the
feel?
camera brand? Is it the new camera? Is it Sony 2.8? Is it a camera? I don't know.
Do you feel that that is when you learnt that just finding people, going up and asking if you can work on their productions and making those connections? Do you still use some of those connections that you made during that time period now?
At UCA, yes, I do. For like mainly for like side projects and just things that we do for fun. But I think it's a really important thing to keep challenging yourself creatively. You know, like for example, when I met Dwayne at UCA, that is like one of my best friends and creatively one of the people that I clicked with the most at UCA. And we're still doing projects. We're still creating new projects, bouncing ideas off each other. And it doesn't mean that everything we do works, obviously. But if you keep challenging yourself creatively, at a certain point you might land on a good idea. And when you land on a good idea, then you have to be able to turn it into something successful and all the other things that you might do. But I think keeping in touch with people from university and just even just hang out and talk about what you're doing, and maybe one day you'll just come up with an idea, or maybe one day someone will say, oh, I'm working on this project. Do you know someone that can work there, or do you want to work with me on this thing? There's an opening. You never know. I think it's the most important thing that we do in this that we can do in this industry is create contacts. Going to parties, which is it might sound crazy, but that's where you get work. Like going to parties and going to events.
There was a wonderful moment. You've just reminded me of Chris Jungo from our year group, where he was in a bar in Poland at Cambrai Film Festival, and he was I think he was with us. He was just sort of hanging out, and then he got talking to the guy next to him, and they sort of made a passing joke, and then they got talking, and he ended up being the second AC on Star Wars. And then I think he lost all confidence to talk, and he kind of went in because he's a massive Star Wars fan, and he kind of backed down. But in an alternative universe, he would have gone on and got a business card and.
You never know. That's what you need to do, and it's the hardest thing. And I'm again, like, I'm not saying that I do that like on an everyday basis, but I think it's really hard for me. And in the end, we like even us, we're starting out in this industry. You know what I mean? Like, we are just doing our first few projects, and we still very much have to push people around and trying to get jobs, because we're no one. So we still need to be persistent, and it's the hardest thing. For me, for example, it's the hardest thing to just message people, email people, because I feel like I'm either being rude or I'm being too pushy, and because saying like, you talked to me about that job a few weeks ago. Is that still going on and stuff like, or just, it's hard. Like, it's hard to be that person, but that's who you have to be for the first few years. And if you don't want to do that, you're either very lucky and you land a huge job pretty like soon, and then that's something that could happen. But the majority of the people that work in the industry, I think went through this phase of 3-4 years, even 5 years of working, and then maybe being on a break for a few months and then working again, and that's this is the life, like someone would say. So
you never know where an email is gonna get you. Do you remember who we emailed to be in our graduation films, Ed?
Yeah, I do remember who we emailed. And it was we emailed Dev Patel, but we emailed because after everything that happened, yeah, because I just figured out it just got to me that we were producer and director of a grad film. So in the end, when that situation was happening, we just thought Dev Patel was the right person to do a really small role.
And surprisingly,
important role.
Surprisingly, a non-speaking role, and we felt that it was worth sending a quick email to Dev to see if his agent would.
Because I still remember that the time where we decided, like, I was like, I really like Dev Patel. and we were joking about it for like a few minutes, and then we just were opening like the browser and writing the email.
And we got an email back extremely quickly.
We did.
To from his agent to notify us that he would not be available for our shoot dates because he would have the Oscars ceremony that weekend. But
it was February. It was February.
It was, but it was worth a go. And we got a response, and I hope that somewhere we made Dev Patel, we made his day, hopefully, somewhere. Or the agent just never mentioned it. And he knows nothing of this.
I think that's plausible. It didn't even know. But what if we did, like, we did get a reply, and it was a crazy mission. It was probably stupid. But
I always recount the story of Shia LaBeouf when he did the Just Do It, actually the symbol. He did the Just Do It video in front of the green screen, and that, if I remember correctly, was a monologue for. It wasn't even a film course. It was a performance course in Leeds or somewhere. I may be completely making this up, but I feel like it was somewhere in the north of England. And they just emailed Shia LaBeouf's agent, and Shia got back and said, "Yeah, I'm in England during this week, and I like your script. Can I do it?" And they got him in. So if you look hard enough, there's about 20 or 30 other monologues of these actors performing these monologues in front of a green screen, and then all of a sudden you've just got Shia LaBeouf. One of the students got Shia LaBeouf just by emailing his agent. I think that's the story that I used to justify contacting Dev Patel to you when we were discussing.
I've always been like driven to do something, to do big things, and it leads me to disaster most of the time. But there's that percentage of a small percentage of times where it actually works, being and I'm not saying that I'm reckless, like I don't show up at production, like at the production office and beg for a job. I just send like a few emails and they don't work, but sometimes they do, and I feel like those are the first few steps that you have to take, and someone will take it seriously. Someone somewhere will take it seriously, because you have to think about like yourself. What if when you're there, when you're in that position, like when you're in the position of giving a job to someone, right? And you get a lot of emails, but and then you get an email that it's different from the others, or it says something that resonates with you. And you might call it. You might send an email and say, "Yeah, just come for an interview, and we'll figure it out, and we'll see if you're the right person." You never know. I would like to, like, if I was to give a job to someone, I would like to give a job to someone that stands up from the crowd and sends me a fun email or a crazy email or a weird email. Again, 99% of the time it doesn't work, just because the person might not even read the email. But that 1%,
How do you, so let's talk mental health a little bit. How do you cope with the 99% of your actions not getting you anywhere, but then that small glimmer of hope where someone will give you a job? How do you cope mentally and also your physical health? How do you make sure that mentally and physically you are healthy?
I mean, this is a really important side of things in general as a human being, not just in our like industry, but in I think every work scenario. But our job is particularly difficult, and in these times even more so, because we don't know when things are gonna go back to normal. We don't know what the industry will look like after this crisis. But I feel like the most important thing is, if you feel like something's wrong with you, something's not right, you're not feeling 100%, you need to ask for help. Like that's the most important thing, because I think that there's really not any shame in asking for help, and I know this there's a lot of campaigns that advocate this fact, but I feel like that's true. That's the most important thing. If you need help, you should get help. And there were times where I was in that position, and I did that, and it helped a lot. It worked. So I think we have to kind of live with rejection and failure in our work department, and even just we need to work freelance for a long time, and we don't know when the next job's gonna come. It could come tomorrow, or it could come in 2 months. You never really know. And there are periods of times where you work a lot, and periods of times where you don't work a lot, and you need to be able to cope with that in a positive way. And it's really hard. Like, it's really hard, because sometimes you might want to think that everything's done. You don't want to do this anymore. I'm gonna change job. I don't want to do this kind of crazy sick thing anymore, where I don't know if I have a job or I don't. But if you really want to do it, and if you really like doing it, when there's actually a job to do, then you need to be able to cope with it. And I think that the best thing you can do is just get help, and finding a healthy life routine. I think that helps you out with this situation. So yeah, I think that's it. I think in general, if you're not having a good time, and you're having a bad couple of days or weeks or months, there's no shame in getting help. And actually, you should, like, I think it's your responsibility to look for help, because that's what we do as humans. When something doesn't work, we try to fix it, and we look for something that can help us fix it. And so my experience was asking, and going, and just it can be therapy, it can be any kind of help. But I think it's crucial in our industry to be healthy, mentally and physically. I don't know. It depends what you're doing. It depends how your body copes with life. So physically, you can work out, you can do whatever. But mentally, you need to be able to survive some harsh steps in this life as a filmmaker. So yeah, that's what I think, at least.
I feel that you raised a really good point earlier about talking to friends that you've made at university and friends that you've made in the industry, and I think that you have stressed very importantly that there's no shame in talking to fellow creatives, to talking to your friends about this, and that is
Absolutely
a great foundation to lay for yourself. You know, a difficulty that does sometimes come in is comparing yourself to others. Have you had any issues with when you first graduated, comparing yourself to other people?
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. It's something that I think it's unavoidable. Like comparing yourself to someone that's doing better than you, or someone that you think is doing better than you, because then maybe you find out that that's not the case, and you were thinking that that person was doing better than you, but it wasn't. And even if that person is doing better than you, so what? Like whatever. It's good for them. Like that's the mindset that I think you need to achieve, and it's normal as human beings to compare yourself to others, and especially to others that are doing the same thing that you're doing. And this feeling that at a certain point you'll get of, I'm growing up and I'm getting older, and I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I think you need to get out of that mindset as quickly as you can, and realize that that's not a real thing. Like being where you're supposed to be is not a real thing. Like where are you supposed to be? Did you want to be at 26? I don't know. Did you want to do your first feature for a major production company? Like that, things will come when they have to come, and if you work hard for them. And so this fear of wasting time, I think it's a tricky subject. It's a tricky thing, and especially when you add it to you comparing yourself to others, and you start saying, I should be doing other things. I should be doing more things. Look at that person. That person's doing great. It's normal to do that, but I think it's really important that you get out of that state of mind as quickly as you can, because we're all different, and we're all doing what we can. at least I hope so. I think so. That's it.
Never compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's greatest hits.
Yeah. Exactly. Never. Let
me write that down.
Never compare your BTS to someone's showreel. That's
yeah. Get that on a t-shirt.
Get that on a t-shirt. My BTS is not your showreel. That's a good t-shirt idea.
What piece of advice could you give to as someone that went through year zero yourself? So a piece of advice to someone in year 0, year 1, year 2 at UCA, going on to maybe the beginning of their journey on the film course or towards the end of the journey. Secondly, to the graduating students, so the third years and the master's students, what would your advice be?
To people that are going through year 0, I'm going to say, I know what it looks like, and I know that you might feel that's not the right thing that you should be doing at this point. But for example, I struggled a lot with English, as I was coming from Italy, and that helped me a lot with my language. And there was a sound bit of the course of year 0 when I did it that was amazing. And you might feel like you're not doing enough, but when you look back at it, you were doing enough for where you were in life and where you were in your education process and journey. year one and year two is just meet as many people as you can, and just try and experiment as much as you can. And then for third years, that's where you have to go all in. Like that's where I feel like you need to build up like a skill set in the first 2 or 3 years if you do the year zero, and then on third year you have to double down and you have to try and do what you want to do really. So if you want to direct, try and direct a grad film. The individual practice, does it still exist?
B project now. Yeah.
B project, yes. So that thing, try and scale it down as much as you can, because what I did wrong, I feel like many people did wrong was trying to have a grad film project kind of project and stuff it in that smaller section of the course. And so if you really want to direct, just try and get a grad film, or if you want to produce or whatever, because that's the real thing. Like that's the most important thing. That's the thing that should take the biggest portion of your time at UCA on year 3. And if you don't get it, which happens, it happens almost to everyone, that you don't get what you wanted to do on a grad film, just try and be on as many grad films as you can, try and experiment as much as you can, and then you can do your side project. But I don't think you should be something too big. Like I don't think you should overestimate your abilities to be able to carry on a grad film and a side project, the same size projects, you know what I mean, at the same time, because that's really hard, and that's what many people did, me included, and failed miserably because my grad film was fine in the end. It was nice, and my pre-project was a disaster, and I shouldn't have done it, and so. But that helps a lot, because now I can give you this advice, and then just have fun. You know what? That's Claire was right. Just be kind and take a shower, and have fun. I think. I mean, you're in Farnham, the best place in the world. That's just Farnham is yours to take. Have fun. No, seriously though, like just. Don't the biggest advice. Year 3 is kind of a gray area because it's so much of a gamble on whether you actually get what you want to do or not. But the most important thing is year 2 and year 1, especially year 2. You need to do something you don't want to do. You need to get out of your comfort zone, and you need to experiment other things, like stuff that you didn't know you could do or didn't know you wanted to do. And because maybe while you're doing them, you find out that that's what you want to do.
When did you discover that you didn't want to do sound? When was the moment?
You know what? I at the end of UCA, I was like, man, I really did everything. Like I did everything. I did like writing, producing, cinematography, directing. I even did some set designs at some point. And then I was like, I never did sound. And so I kind of realized that sound is like the most important thing in filmmaking. Like it's if a movie has bad sound, you notice right away, and it's the most important thing. And I feel like what Noski used to say, and I think that's a really good thing that she taught me, is that the AC's job is the most difficult job. It's one of the most difficult jobs because. If when he's pulling focus, he does a great job, right? A great job. Like the focus is perfect. Like a really difficult scene where focus has to change for a long, like really difficult scene, and everything is perfect. The audience will never notice that because it's mimicking what your eye does, right? But as soon as the focus puller makes a mistake, the audience picks it up right away. And those are some things like sound. If sound is great, you don't notice, but if sound is bad, then you notice it. And so I'm kind of sad that I never got into sound, but
It's the referee of film sets, isn't it?
that's exactly. If the ref is great, then you're like, ah, that was a good game. If the ref makes like mistakes, you're like, ah, that was awful ref. Really, really bad.
My experience with sound during our time at university.
You were a big sound guy.
Well, well, what I was going to say is that I had a very similar experience where I think I covered every role in my time. Maybe I didn't do I never did production design full on, but I'm sure I like arranged some tables in an office space and got a production design assistant credit somewhere, so I'll claim it. And I carried a piano up some stairs, so I did get a production design for one of it was in second year.
That was my. I was DPing that.
Wait,
Was it? It was.
Yeah.
Was it Hornswoggle? Was you were?
Exactly.
Yeah, of course. That piano. I remember that. I remember that day. That was a great day. Piano up the stairs.
4 flights of stairs. Me, Simon, and Nobi carrying this piano like something out of Chucklevision. I mean, I won't speak on Simon and Nobi's half, but one of the weakest members of the class of 2017 being tasked with carrying this grand piano up some stairs. But I can't remember when it happened, but there was a film where there wasn't a soundy that day, and I picked up a boom, and that was enough for everyone to see. You know, maybe a picture got taken, and I was on Facebook holding a boom. And then I became one of the soundies, just like that. It was that easy. And then after that, I had to like learn the skip because people were asking me, because I think the sound department was quite short in our year. There really wasn't many soundies going around. And after that picture, people would ask me to work on their projects, which is good, because I got lots of experience, but all of a sudden I was just a designated soundie, and I had to learn the skills after my first attempt and after getting all these offers to do sound on projects. And I feel that the experience that I did learn from trying all these roles was that I gained a perspective of all these different roles, so that when I'm working in a role, I have an understanding of the teams that are working with me and around me. And I think that's something that I value from my time holding a boom.
I think that's the most important thing, because if you know the struggle that the camera team is going through, while as a director you kind of are expecting things to be done in a certain way, then you will know how to interact with them and how to interact with your director of photography, and you will be kinder to them as well, but also know what you can ask of them, and that goes for every department. So if as a director you know how much time does it take to do a lens change, how much time does it take to get equipment ready, you first of all, you won't ask for ridiculous things, which is one of the biggest problems on sets. Not really big sets, because like professionals are like big professionals are there for a reason. But on medium sets, small to medium sets, even some of the big ones, the most important thing is time management. And if you know how much time it takes to do something, you won't ask it in a shorter time. You won't ask it you won't ask it to be done in a longer time. You just know how much time you need and how much time you have, for example, to rehearse with the actors or whatever. I think everyone should have an idea of even a vague idea of every department's job and every aspect kind of their life on set. Also because, as you were saying, like, you should never stand where you're not supposed to stand. And I feel like that's honestly that's the biggest rule of filmmaking. Don't stand where you're not supposed to stand.
So the two rules are: don't stand where you're not meant to stand, and don't compare your BTS to
Exactly.
other people's show.
Someone's showreel. Yeah. And also because if you're standing where you're not supposed to stand, then like a chain reaction could happen, and something terrible might happen. So always stand. Never sit on the actor's chair. Like, that there's you can spot when a chair is an actor's chair, because it's different. It's those director's chairs, right?
Mm.
Never sit on one of those. That's a really important thing to know. And yeah, just never stand in between doors, and mind your business. Like, when you have to know when to mind your own business and don't get involved.
I found that it was I had this moment where the tables flipped. So I worked sort of 4 or 5 weeks on King Lear as a trainee grip, which I didn't find was the department for me, but it was a great experience nonetheless. And I there was this wonderful moment when Emma Thompson was in my way. She was obstructing me, and I had to take him. And she was offering. She was so lovely, and she was offering this dark chocolate. She'd developed. She'd come across this. I was going to say she developed. I don't know where I was going with that. She developed an addiction. She had so much dark chocolate, right? That because she explained it. She had come across this really sort of expensive, rich sort of Belgian chocolate shop. Rich as in chocolate rich, but I'm sure it was expensive as well. And she would bring these like massive bars, like Willy Wonka, something out of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And she would bring them and just ask everyone if they wanted chocolate, which was great. But when you're trying to deliver an apple box to set with immediate effect, and she is in a doorway and you're trying to get past and you don't quite know how to address her because it's Emma Thompson. Yeah. And she sort of turns around with a lovely smile and she's like, "Oh, do you want some dark chocolate?" And she's already offered me dark chocolate. And there was about a quarter of a second where I got angry because I was probably tired. It was a long day, and I not externally but internally, I got angry for a quarter of a second, and then I spent the rest of the day just amused at the fact that I had got angry with Emma Thompson. That anger disappeared as quick as it arrived because I just found it so hilarious that I was angry at Emma Thompson for a quarter of a second for being in my way.
Yeah, but also because no one of your teammates will no one of your teammates will care that Emma Thompson was giving out chocolate. They just want you to give them the apple box in time, and you just can't say anything that will justify your being late.
Imagine if I pinned that on Emma Thompson.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It was Emma Thompson. I was giving me chocolate.
A likely story.
Likely story. Exactly. And even if that's true, they will just don't care. And that's one of the things. Time is the most important thing. But being on an independent set, being on a film set, like on a student film set, you know how important time is. You know that. One last thing that I really want to say, because I feel like sometimes we can picture this industry as a really tough and like bad place to live in, and for sure people pictured it like that to me when I was studying, and so this is a job where you get to do stuff that is unbelievable. Like sometimes you can't really believe it yourself, because as you're saying, you might get Emma Thompson offering you chocolate at some point. I had to go to teach to follow an art lesson to John Malkovich. I didn't know that. I don't know I was gonna do that in my life. That's the weirdest thing, most random thing that you could do. So it's a wonderful world and environment to work in, and because it's so great and it's so crazy and unbelievable. A lot of people want to do that. Like a lot of people want to work in this industry, and that's where the bad part starts, because there's so much competition and most of the unpleasant stuff happens because of that competition and because of how hard it is to get into this universe. But I can't see myself doing anything else than create stuff and working with other people to just make stuff that the world enjoys. Because in the end, like for example, in this time of quarantine and self-isolation and lockdown, people, what do? They watch movies, they watch TV shows, they listen to music, they read books. That's it. Like they consume like entertainment, and that's what we do. And I think it's one of the most important things for society, and it shows particularly now in a time of difficulty. Because imagine going through these few months without any movie, without any TV show, without art in general. Like, what would people do? It would be a completely different world. And I hope that people kind of realize how important we are from now on. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I hope it does happen, and I hope it gives a new meaning to and a new importance to everyone that works behind the scenes. That is not an actor, it's not a director, it's not like a kind of famous personality in this industry. All of the people that get paid not so much and make everything happen in the end. So it's a beautiful place to work in, and a beautiful environment to work in. You just need to work a lot to get to it. That's my advice, I guess.
Thanks very much to Ed for taking the time out of his day to speak to me. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any comments or people that you would like to see on this, or you want to send me some lo-fi beats, please drop me an email at andrew.newman@uca.ac.uk. But for now, please stay safe, and I will see you next week.